Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game 7 Baseball.com. There you go. Just short. Go for it. We haven't been here. We weren't here last week. I've been under the weather. I'm out. I'm over the weather at this point. So, back.
It's in. It's done. He's going to the Padres.
Oh, Juan Soto, look at that. There you go, folks.
Just
if you haven't heard, this will be up today. Juan Soto going to the Padres.
Yep.
That will change. That's going to shift the West a little bit. When are they getting Tatis back?
He's taking swings and looking pretty good. I actually, because I'm a baseball card collector and Tatis is one of those guys, I got a big card of his. I pay attention to that stuff, and he was actually swinging last night, felt pretty good. So I believe he's close.
Yeah.
Like 10 days kind of close.
Well, I'll tell you, did they get Josh Bell too?
They did.
So
they did.
You're looking at, here is the Padres getting Josh Bell and Juan Soto. Their pitching is pretty good. I think they just re-signed Joe Musgrove, right?
Yep. $100 million deal, something like that. Musgrove.
Yeah.
Must show,
so
must play, must
you
pitch.
got Snell.
Sean Mania.
It's going to be interesting.
Well,
Second half.
Yeah, obviously,
here.
I think they're playing for just the wild card opportunity, but the trade looks like
it would be a monumental comeback to catch the Dodgers and overtake them as far as the division.
Would that be a monumental comeback or complete disaster for the Dodgers? I mean, they're not going to lose. They would have to lose probably 20-something games, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think it would be. It'd still be monumental unless the Padres can just win that much.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. So, it'll be interesting to see. They're all in for the postseason, though.
They are. So the trade that I had was C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel III, James Wood, which is a nice young prospect, right-handed pitcher, Susana, I'm guessing, for Juan Soto and Josh Bell. I know that there's been some other names attached to that, but that is, in my opinion, that's a heck of a deal for the Padres, and I'm shocked because I thought the Cardinals' prospects were a lot better than what they were kind of offering. But, hey, so be it. They made the deal. Good luck.
Yeah. The Cardinals, I just didn't believe the Cardinals were going to be able to pull that off just for the simple fact that they will not – the Cardinals will not completely dismantle their future. They never will do that. The Padres dismantled their future as far as to win now. They're going to have to sign those guys, and we'll just have to see how that works. I mean, Manny Machado, Tatis Jr., what are you looking at? Juan Soto. Tatis Jr., Juan Soto,
you still
man.
have Cronenworth out there.
You have Cronenworth,
and
exactly.
Now you have Josh Bell playing first base. I'm assuming they're going to move Hosmer. Hosmer's got a big contract.
I mean, Cronenworth's been playing first base, so is he going to – what's his original position? Second, that's what I thought. So he's going to move back to second base. And who was – I don't even know.
Cam maybe was playing short, something of that nature.
So it'll be interesting to see how they make all that fit together.
Yeah, I thought the big push for the Cardinals was going to be that their record when scoring 5+ runs is like 46-10.
I just hope the Cardinals get a starting pitcher. I don't know what that's going to be like, but I don't think it will. But we'll just have to
maybe
see.
One more. I'd like to see Rodon come from the Giants. He's got an opt out and he's pitching very, very well. He met that 110 innings or pitched or whatever to opt out, and then they signed Quintana, or they traded for Quintana last night with Oviedo and Nunez, which Nunez was a nice prospect going to Pittsburgh. But it was interesting because he's a first and third baseman, and they have enough of that in their system with Brian Hayes and the young man they just drafted this year. So, hey, good luck
to
everybody, and I guess we're playing for the wild card too. I don't know. Go Birds.
Well, but then how does, not to mention, we forget, the Padres got Josh Hader too.
Yep, I forgot about that. And I was going to say that's a loss. That's a big loss in the Central Division for us, at least. But Devin Williams has been pitching out of this world. I'm assuming he's going into that role. So, and he's a local kid.
So Josh Hader now. I mean,
He's been struggling.
He has, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wonder if Trevor Rogers will actually go close.
But what we want to talk a little bit here is some youth baseball. The prep baseball report, PBR just did their future games out in Atlanta. And there's a couple of 13U and 14U. I want to give a little shout out to some of these guys, some stuff guys we're familiar with. The 14U went 4-2 at the future games. They lost to Arkansas, it looks like, in the semifinals. I believe that's what it was. But you're talking, they lost to Michigan 4-1, game 1, but then they beat Tennessee 5-1, beat the Pacific Northwest team 7-2, beat Ohio 6-2. They beat Texas 5-3, and then lost to Arkansas 4-2.
That's nice. That's a big beat in some of them southern states.
Really? I mean, honestly, that's a great showing by this 14U team. And I want to give a little shout out to some of these guys. You had Parker Club out of Mulvane, Kansas. And I know they sometimes take some of these kids. This is a little different here. They'll add rosters and things like that. So, but you had Henry Bertonson, I guess.
Keep working.
Out of Kansas City. Outfielder Tyler Cook out of Lake St. Louis over here. Austin Jones, Sunset Hills. Brady Tanner, St. Charles kid. Nolan Sissom out of O'Fallon. Ethan Carswell out of Overland Park. Landon Matthews, Wildwood. And Eli Kemna out of St. Elizabeth. So, I mean, and then Dylan Curtis O'Fallon. So, some of these names, I'm going to be looking at some of these kids and see where.
You have to. I know a few of them. I've actually worked with a couple of them. Sism was they played for the Tribe a few years back.
Okay.
Coach Sism was actually a Hazelwood Central guy. His son is a massive young man, left-handed swing. He is thick, I think, for his size or for his age. They were there at 13U, and they say that he's going to be a next level kid in this area. But on that list, Dylan Curtis worked with him, played with his dad. Sism was played at Hazelwood Central, played with Earl Green, and so you're starting to see the dads kind of like you've seen in the major leagues. Maybe not quite that level, but it's kind of turning over. And then to look at these, you're talking about kids in the GAC. The kids from Lake St. Louis, right? The kids from O'Fallon. These guys are, if they don't go to a private school, they're going to be in that GAC. So these guys are going to be, kind of in our area that we cover a lot of. So I'm kind of excited about watching them continue to grow through the PBR process.
And I like this because average runs scored 4.3 and average runs allowed 2.67. So the pitching was there.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see stats on that. I think I was looking at Dylan's, posting some information on Dylan, and so I saw that he had some good outings, but I don't know if it was a win or a loss. I know that Nolan Sism pitches, or used to, and I don't know if he still does, but that's pretty solid, man.
It is, and when you start talking about Missouri baseball, being a factor in the national conversation, 4-2, and then the 13U that was there.
Did Coach Perkins coach?
He did. Coach Perkins did the big kids.
Oh, I got you.
He did the big kids. We'll get to that one here in just a minute. Yeah, they did very well too. So these are the more tournament style events.
Gotcha.
The younger ages are more tournament style. They went 2-3-1. They lost to Ohio 7-3, tied the Mid-Atlantic team 10-10, lost to Oklahoma 12-3. They beat Oklahoma 8-5, beat Kentucky 7-6, and lost to Florida 6-2. So still a good showing. A I mean, that's competing right there.
Yeah, and even in the high-scoring games too, they're right there. I think they have one big loss, but
yeah.
you know,
but then they come back
turn
and
around
beat
them.
Oklahoma.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
could have just had a dude on the mound, or maybe they didn't have the dude on the mound. I don't know.
You had. I'm not quite sure these other kids that are up here: Cole Ryherd, Joe Walker, Rocco Bucci, Brendan Akers is a St. Louis kid, Colin Zimbelman out of Kansas, Carson Luthauser out of High Ridge, Missouri, Zach Partney was from Hillsboro, Pratt Hayes. Or Hayes Pratt, excuse me, Kansas City, Brandon Wilson Jr., Kansas City, Cole Chambers, a Wildwood kid, Max Partney out of Hillsboro, Luke McAtee, I guess, out of Town and Country, and Brandon Ott. I know Brandon Ott, his dad, Michael Ott, he's the one that runs the Performance Academy over there, the St. Louis Legacy, out of Chesterfield. So... And I know that's the one I'm familiar with. Cole Chambers, I've seen him. Brandon Ott, I've seen him. Those are really two good baseball players in this area. Your thoughts there?
Only ones I know. I see a lot on the list. There's a lot of catchers on there that went down there.
Yeah.
to speak on this though, because maybe I'm not 100% on how this works. And for those that are watching, do these rosters get picked? Do they try out for these rosters?
They get picked. These are all kids that are invited.
So do they go to like a PBR event?
Yes.
They do their showcase, and then they say, I want this kid, this kid, this kid, this kid.
And then they hand out, and then Kevin Mulder invites, and then, they either accept or decline.
Do they get together prior, or do they just show up? They show up and play. I gotcha.
Yeah. So it's
kind of like a regional team, I guess, if you will, because it's obviously Missouri, but they're pulling from Kansas. I saw that the 14U team had maybe an Iowa, or they had a Georgia kid in there, didn't they?
And they will do that if there's not enough room for a player on another roster. They will do that just so the kids get to play, because they want to bring them in and play. So that's something Kevin told me about. Yes, they will do that. And so there's Missouri kids that played on a team select in the high division that got picked to play on a team that's called the select team, with kids from different states, because there wasn't enough room. They were invited. They got to play. They still got to go. So
I got you. Was that the one that was at Mizzou?
This was at Lake Point.
Oh, this is still the same tournament.
Yeah,
I got you. I'm sorry. I saw some selects that were from out of state that were in Columbia this weekend playing in a big tournament.
No, so I mean, so you look at 4-2, 2-3-1, and then the big team, they went 2-1 themselves. They beat Nevada. They beat just went out of my brain, man. That I'll tell you.
Is there a reason they only played 3 games compared to the others?
Yeah, it's a showcase tournament. They do it in that way. It's not a tournament format. They play 3 games.
I gotcha.
And that's that. Now the 2 below were tournament style games.
I see.
And both went into, like I said, the 14 got into that semifinal. Great stuff. Great showing. And I think it's great to see here, because they were talking about some of the giveaways or takeaways. Stone Marion, North Point, a 2026 kid, continues to show as one of the top prospects across 3 Missouri Junior Future Game squads. North Point, that's going to be a kid we're going to get to see. So Stone Marion's a kid we're going to keep an eye on. I think it's great that we're going to see them in the GAC. Another one, Carson Twellman out of Troy, delivered a clutch double to right field in this contest. And also, this is day 2. Game time walk to cap off an impactful offensive performance for Team Missouri. He also peaked exit velocity 88.5 miles per hour. That's pretty good right there, man. Logan Struder out of St. Louis University, Cooper Montgomery, St. Dominic, Rocco Marriott, Platte County. We saw Platte County they just won the 5A state title. Jamison Forrest, a Gateway Legacy Christian Academy kid, had a good weekend. High ceiling, played at the plate, attached to a physical, advanced 6'2", 885-pound frame. That's a 2026 kid.
That's a big kid. That's a big kid. That Gateway school, though, if I have that correctly, that's mostly Latin athletes, right?
Latin athletes, yes, it is. Yeah. Caden Kern out of McCracken County, that was in Kentucky, played there. Austin Jones out of Lindbergh, 2026, went 2 for 2 at the plate with a double and an RBI for the other Team Missouri squad on Friday. So 3 players showed well for the Missouri 13U team. Brandon Ott going to DeSmet, Luke McAtee. These are all 2027 kids, and infielder Cole Chambers. So you're looking at some really good talent in the state of Missouri here moving forward, guys. I think this really bodes well for us as we're talking about the development and the programs. And we just got through man, my brain is still on. It's still working its
still
way
cloudy.
through, brother. It's still in a cloud. Tryouts. And we talk about development, continuing to develop players and whatnot. And I think this is where it's really taken shape, man.
Getting back into baseball this past year, understanding how some things work. One of the things that I have to do as a coach is understand my own ego and things I need to drop. If I have a kid that is that talented that needs to maybe skip a weekend to do a showcase or something, or have some of these opportunities, you need to let these kids go and experience this. I'm close to Cole, so I work with him, and having this opportunity, I get to talk to him and his parents a lot. His parents are great. They let him do what he needs to do, but the things that they tell me is that he works every single day. Mm-hmm. It's not just if he's got soccer practice, because he's a stud soccer keeper too, he'll go out and hit for a few minutes just to make sure that he has those feels back. And he called me this weekend a little bit disappointed about his exit velos, and he thought he should have been a little bit better. And I said, "Hey, how'd you hit?" And he said, "I have a couple doubles. I hit a couple hard singles. I didn't get fooled on some curveballs." I said, "Well, so be it.
Yeah.
You're 13 years old. We got a few more years to really work on this." But he's getting to see the pressures, and I call them exciting, to be around such good talent. You're one of what, 14, 15 kids that got picked, and I think I'm going to encourage my group to do the same thing. If I got a couple of kids that need to have this experience to get that opportunity to get looks, I'm going to send them. If I have to borrow a kid for a weekend, then so be it. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just I don't want to lose a kid, you know what I mean? But these are a bunch of kids from a bunch of different teams. They're going to one tournament. It's not like it's one coach that you're sending off that you feel like they might take your player after the end of the weekend. But I'm starting to buy into this process a little bit more now that I'm getting to learn it a little bit better, whether it's creating a Midwest team or a like kind of a showcase team.
Well, and this just is a one-off. This is about sending these kids, putting them in front of like 350 scouts.
Yeah.
But this is high-end baseball. This is high-end stuff. You have to warrant an invite, and these are the top prospects. You're talking about kids that and the other thing that you have to remember about this is none of these kids have been committed. You don't get on this big team here. They went 2-1. At the top level, it's all uncommitted players at this point. So if you're committed,
you're not there.
You're not there. So this is all about these kids getting their opportunity to finish off, because there's some kids that have gotten offers here. One in particular, Brady Picarelli, that Justin and I saw when we were out at the Maryville one, showed very well, and he had a really good weekend. Cade White, kid out of Republic, Missouri. We'd talked to Cade back when he was an 8th grader, had him on our player spotlight. he got to come on. We talked to him, and here we are seeing him performing at this. These are all the 2024 class. You're talking Jackson Carter, Eric Williams, kids that weren't necessarily on the radar got a chance to get in here. John Paul Sauer out of Jackson. You got, Jay Slasser, Winsfield kid. These are kids that we're going to get to see again. Dalton Hosack out of, you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
And
I know him and Chase well. I actually know Brody Short too as well. He's been around for a while. And these are dudes that you look at, and I tell you what, I'm looking at the size of some of these boys, and I'm not sure if that's a typo, but it says 6'7", 3. I wonder if he's 6'3" or 6'7". That is a mountain of a man right down there at the end. About 185 pounds. But
I think he's 6'3".
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah, and then but you're seeing guys, everywhere from 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", 6'4". And so you're seeing a bunch of different weight classes, anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds difference. And it goes back to just saying, hey, you're a big guy, you're a small guy, doesn't mean you can't play the game of baseball. And it's just, putting yourself in position on where it makes sense. You shouldn't be a 5'9", pitcher. That's hard to do. I know that it's obviously it can happen. Mm-hmm. But, maybe you're a second baseman. Maybe you're a corner outfielder or something, shortstop.
And we went up against beat Louisiana 7-4. I mean, Louisiana is one of those top states, man.
Yeah, heck yeah.
They beat Nevada 7-0. They shut Nevada out, and Nevada is a top. Lost to the Carolinas 8-6. So this team, this a lot of talent on this team. I think it shows well for the state of Missouri. I think. Kevin Mulder has done a great job of putting these teams together. I think Coach Perkins coached this team, Coach Tony Perkins. And Coach will tell you, I just tell him, go out on the field, No, I think Coach does a great job. Calming influence guy that's been there, helps these kids get through this process. And I just love the fact that we're seeing a lot of the wealth of talent and what has been a boom. This is why I can't say, clubs are terrible. No, because what the clubs have done has been able to develop these athletes over this past 10, 15 years and putting Missouri in the race, I believe, in the hunt and developing very, very high-level baseball players.
Yeah, I think the change, obviously from, I know Justin can add to these things if needed one day, but when I was going through this process, you didn't have this. You didn't have the ability to send a message or send emails right away like this. AOL took forever, to dial up. So I think this is just I'm starting to buy in. I still don't understand it 100% because I've been in the softball community for a while, and I know that softball has always tried to gear towards doing these kinds of events. But as I'm watching and I'm going through it, now I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Because you get to experience this fun atmosphere and playing with a bunch of dudes. It again shows that there is baseball players all over this area that are really, really good. They're just dispersed a little bit differently than maybe it used to be.
And I think the one thing that we have to caution against, and I will always say this, we're talking about high-level athletes. Most of this, there's going to be some Division II, Division I, but a lot of these are Division I athletes. And, as we talk about these things all the time, understand what kind of athletes you are. Understand that doesn't mean if you don't get an invite to this type of thing, that doesn't mean you should stop. Understand who you are, where your growth is, where are you playing. Parents have to understand these things. This whole process, I don't want to blow this out of proportion. What I think it does, though, is it gives a lot of athletes the opportunity at the AA level to continue to grow. If you're with a club and you're on a AA team, that doesn't mean you're a bad baseball player.
No. You watched Titus pitch this year for me, and he obviously did a good job, and he's under the radar kind of kid. Nobody kind of looked at him that way. I just look at the information. We
Yes.
talked, one of the shows that we did early on when we first started doing this perspective stuff was information.
Right.
You know, we used Chase and all those guys to talk about this kind of stuff. And again, know what you are as a player.
Yep.
And what you're trying to achieve. You know, if you're a young athlete and you want to see how you measure, go here and measure.
Yes.
You know, when I do tryouts, I don't want to necessarily measure a kid's 60-yard dash. You know, I'm not looking at that. I don't need to see a kid run, you know, this way instead of a straight line to determine whether or not I think he's got speed. You know, I want to see him track down fly balls. I want to see him run the bases. I want to see how they slide. So, you know, do this for your metrics testing. I'm, you know, if you want to test your bat speed, and
Absolutely.
you go here. If you want to strike out a kid that's a stud, go here.
I think this is where, and again, you know, you see a kid, they'll tell you he tops out at 90, but he may be in a game pitching between 85 to 87. That doesn't mean he's throwing at maximum every single time. I may be able to touch 90, but that shows you that you have growth potential, that you have the opportunity to continue to get stronger, grow. You can throw harder. But again, remember, learn how to pitch. Let's come back to these things. Utilize the things and the tools and the scouting opportunities that are there. I think Kevin does a great job. PBR does a great job bringing these things in. And when we've talked to the kids, I think it's an understanding that they're growing as well. A lot of these kids come and they do it. Am I getting better myself? The apparatus will take and pull the numbers and whatnot. If you're looking at and competing against yourself, am I getting better? Did I ran a 7.3? Did I run a 7.2? Did I run a 7 flat? What do I want to be? What kind of ball player I am? Is my exit velo? My exit velo at 13 is 80 miles an hour. Is it 85? Is it 90? Where am I growing? Am I compete against yourself, getting better as an athlete, and then the metrics will and all those other things will work themselves out.
They'll
Agreed?
fall. Yeah, 100%. And adding to that, it also gives you that measurement, that measurable for the next X amount of years that you're playing this game and you're trying. So if you know that you went to a PBR event at 13 years old and you hit 75 miles an hour and you want to be 80, what are you going to do to get to that 80? Are you going to lift weights? Are you going to, is it nutrition that we talked about last week? What are you doing to get to that 80? Sometimes, athletes see these numbers, but they don't know how to get to them. They don't have the body to get to them. They don't have mobility to get to them, flexibility to get to these numbers. Those are still pieces to this puzzle. You still have to train. You just can't go up there and think that you're going to swing harder. and it's going to all of a sudden translate to 5 miles an hour on the exit speeds. The body has to sequence the proper way. Add a little bit more muscle, a little bit more height if you're lanky or not. But, I had a kid asking me, how can I get 5 miles an hour on my fastball? I said, do you think that your arm can handle 5 miles an hour, like your body type? I mean, he's like, well, I don't know, Coach. I feel like if I can get some more drive. And I said, then why aren't we working on getting more drive? Why are we doing, when we're trying to throw long toss, why are you just throwing it at an average, effort? If you're trying to get to a certain number, you need to train your body at max effort.
I think it's interesting. And these are things that I take away from stuff like this. I don't know if you ever watched The Last Dance.
Michael Jordan's?
The Bulls, run. Well, Michael Jordan's talking about when he comes back from baseball, his trainer, he had the same trainer for both sides. His trainer, though, said, we started working out for baseball, doing different things, this, that. When he come back to basketball, his trainer looked at him and says, we have to deconstruct your entire body and reconstruct it for basketball. And I don't think most people understand that because it's different muscles, it's different things for different sports. Mm-hmm. And baseball is completely different than baseball or than basketball. So he had to deconstruct all he had built for baseball to reconstruct for basketball. And it goes to what you're saying, the training method to going into swinging the bat, throwing a baseball, all these things that you're training your muscles to do. Are you doing it to get that 5 miles an hour or 3 to 4, whatever the case may be? And I think it does go to what can your body handle.
Yeah, and you're looking at like tools like certain apps and belts and biometric stuff that you're looking at, the biomechanics of the body. But the just again tools. We have things like Rapsodo to tell us spin rates and all these things, and now we have tools like and programs like P3 that develop an entire program that is geared towards being able to throw hard. Right. At some point, if you are working and you're 2 years in, 3 years in, and you're still throwing this, is that when you look at the mirror and go, well, maybe I can only throw 85. Maybe that's all that my body can handle. And nope, let me go check my chiropractor. Maybe my chiropractor sees something wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, or I can't finish I don't know. I'm just talking to be talking, but I see all these programs available to us as coaches, and we're all chasing the same thing. We're all trying to get our athletes better, because it helps us, right, at the end of the day.
And here's the thing. If I'm throwing 85, okay, what's that across the diamond? If I know that I'm going to max out there, then am I working on my hitting? Am I working? I may pitch through a certain amount of space of time, but I know that future-wise, this is where I'm going to be. What am I doing to set my skills at that level and that place? Because there's a lot of kids that are going to be at that 85, but 85 miles an hour, man, is fast. It isn't. I mean, I know it's hard for us to think about that, but go up there and have somebody throw 85 miles an hour at you. It's still fast. It's not 95. I get that, and those things, but still, throwing 85 is not jump.
It's the level of play that we're talking about.
Yes.
And 85, where 85 is going to play, it will play, and especially if you move the baseball,
right,
and throw change-ups off that thing. I was going to add a little bit. I don't remember what Major League Baseball player talked about this, but he was with his pitching coach, and he was at like this. I don't know if it was Alec Manoah. I could be wrong, but he had been working with this pitching coach trying to get his velo up. He couldn't do it. So he went a little unconventional and said, "Hey, turn around and throw the ball over the fence." He couldn't throw the ball over the fence. He said, "Now make a pitch." He gained 1 mile an hour. So he said, "Why did you gain the 1 mile an hour?" Right? So what did he do? Threw a couple of them. He went back down in velo. He said, "Throw the ball over the fence." He threw the ball over the fence. He went up like 3 miles an hour. So then he realized the intent was there, and he didn't know what his body can do. And so sometimes maybe it is things like that shut us down. Yeah. And so just know what you are, know what you can do, and if you're trying to push limits, find maybe unconventional ways like that. I'm a big believer in long toss. I know that a lot of teams don't do it. The guys that have good arms that are in the GACs, before they ever pitch, they ever step foot on the mound in the bullpen, are playing long tosses about as far as you can, 250, 300 feet before they ever step foot on the bump to throw. If those guys are throwing 85 to 90 in the GACs and they're doing that, in my mind, eye test, right? Mm-hmm. Old school stuff. I'm saying we need to do more long toss. Like it only makes sense, because what does it take to throw the ball that far?
Right.
You have to have the velo. You have to have the intent. You have to let that arm fly.
And I always look at these things too. Don't just throw it to be throwing it. Throw it with as you said, throw it with purpose. One of the things that I always talked about with Justin, and we talked about when he would throw long toss, is I would see a lot of pitchers throwing long toss, and I never saw it, but catchers jumping in the air, everybody's running all over the place. If I'm going to throw long toss as a pitcher, can I hit my catcher in the chest? Throw with some purpose, throw with some accuracy, because it's still, you got to throw it where you want to. Understand what you're trying to accomplish. Not only velocity, but a strike. I have to throw a strike. It's okay. I threw it 95, but I killed 2 birds. I mean, I just think it's and we're walking the bases loaded. We have to come back to, and I think there's a reality to this, and I think I see these things within this, and what you're seeing within some of these pitchers that we've talked about here in this group. Guys that fill up the zone, don't walk a lot of guys, but have good velocity, but they're filling up the strike zone.
That's huge. And I think I said it on another show when they talked about Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals closer. What was big from last year when he had all the walks and the issues to this year is there was such a focus on spin rate the year before. And this year, talking to Mike Maddox and the group, they said stop worrying about the spin rate, throw the baseball over the plate.
Yeah.
And he starts throwing the baseball over the plate. He didn't lose no velocity.
Right.
And so now look at what he's doing in the Cardinals bullpen. And so,
he's dotting I's at 102.
Yeah, and his off speed's there.
Yes.
You could tell, and he's even said it this year. He's like, I tried to spin it extra, a little bit extra to try to get a little more snap out of her, a little more turn, and that ball just backs up on him, or it finishes way outside because he held on to it too long. But it just listen, and again, this is not a cookie cutter game.
Mm-mm.
And so know who you are, know what you're about, and if you think spin rate is what you need and you've lost control, go back to what caused you to get that control, and then start worrying about your intent, your mindset, because there's a lot of this that's just bigger than even physical attributes too. You got to be willing.
Body follows the mind.
Yeah,
dude.
You said it last week.
Body follows the mind. Hey, congrats. 13U, 2-3-1, 14U, 4-2, the 16U, 17U, I believe, something like that. I know they're 2024s. 2-1. It was a great showing for Team Missouri at the Future Games. Kudos to all the coaches. I know Coach Whaley was there, Coach Perkins, Kevin Mulder, who does a great job with Prep Baseball Report. We're looking forward to talking to him about these things. So, big ups. Congrats to all the players. Good information here. We always like to talk about these things. You pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Hit them where they ain't.
it's good advice. We'll see you next time.